Premier League Week 4 brought perfect starts.
What a strike, what a goal! Zubimendi with an absolute sizzler!
Derby blowouts and late game heart stoppers. Burnley held Liverpool to 0 shots on target until the 96th minute. Man City scored 3 times with only 46% possession. And bottom half Brentford clawed back a 2-2 draw against big spending Chelsea. New faces are dictating games. Zubimendi is running Arsenal. A kid named Nick Woltemade wins the 3 points for Newcastle, whilst the established big-name Prem boys in Haaland and Salah keep on racking up goals. What did we learn? Well, Week 4 told us that nobody is going to cruise to the title this season. Brentford 2, Chelsea 2, a long throw changes the game. Chelsea blew a 2-goal comeback at the G-Tech Community Stadium, a stadium which is becoming a bogey ground for the Blues, who last picked up 3 points in the stadium back in 2021 courtesy of Bergvall. Chelsea dominated with 66% possession and an 88% pass completion rate, yet the Blues had all the control but lacked that killer edge in the first half, with Enzo Maresca coming under fire for making too many rotational changes in the lead up to Chelsea's game against Bayern Munich. Brentford came with a plan, came with purpose, and got rewarded for their disciplined play as Kevin Schade took the lead for Brentford, punishing lax marking by Chelsea. The second half had to bring something different for Chelsea, and Enzo Maresca wasted no time in making a triple substitution to change the game by introducing all the big boys back into the team. And boy did those big boys deliver, as Chelsea got back into the game courtesy of Cole Palmer's nonchalant finish and an absolute blaster outside the box from Moises Caicedo in the 85th minute. Chelsea was certain that they were set to secure their first 3 points in the stadium since 2021, yet Fabio Carvalho had different plans, and one long throw changed the game completely. Much debate came from this equalizer, with many suggestions that Dango Otara was in an offside position the moment that Aya made contact with his flick on. Yet regardless of how Chelsea may feel hard done by, a lack of control near the end of games cost them securing the full 3 points. And Brentford are showing that even without star players and missing many players in the market, they are still one of the toughest teams in the league to get ready for, as Keith Andrews is letting the entire league know that Brentford won't be anyone's whipping boys this season in the Prem. Liverpool won, Burnley nil. Patience pays off at Turf Moor. Against Burnley, Liverpool monopolised possession with 80% of the ball and attempted 766 passes, completing it with 84% accuracy. Yet Burnley's low block and heroic keeper in Martin Dubravka kept them to 3 shots on target out of a possible 26. It seems like Burnley have learned from their lessons of getting relegated in prior Prem seasons, as they're making themselves resolute and tough to beat and break down. It wasn't until the 95th minute that Mohamed Salah's penalty, conceded by Medjbry's handball, helped secure Liverpool a late 1-0 win. Burnley's Lesley Gyökeres was sent off on the 84th minute, but even then the Clarets offended and they produced a remarkable 46 clearances in the game. The headline game of this weekend fell down to Man City versus Man United, the battle to see who owns Manchester, and in customary fashion, Man City produced a comfortable 3-0 win against a Man United team coming under more fire and scrutiny every single week. City were ruthless rather than dominant. They had less of the ball, but more damage, more firepower, with Phil Foden's header setting the tone for the first goal after an excellent cutback cross from Doku. Haaland's brace, taking advantage of a desperate Man United who pushed their defensive lines higher up, produced a brace and was very unlucky not to get a hat-trick against Manchester United. Man City stood up unusually deeper, encouraging Man United to press them and come up the field. The plan was to set United into pressure traps and slice through them using transitional players such as Doku and Bernardo Silva. United's wingbacks left spaces in behind for fun, and as the game was going on, United got more desperate to claw themselves back in. The spaces only grew more and more and more. Man City controlled the game through moments instead of possession, with Erling Haaland being the player of the match. 3 shots on target, 2 goals, and a whopping 7 aerials won. It was the definition of cold efficiency. United will continue to come under more fire under Ruben Amorim, with many suggestions that United should be adapting converting their system to a 4-3-3. With a big game coming up against Chelsea for week 5, could Amorim finally spring some surprises to bring new life into this decaying Manchester United team? Tottenham 3, West Ham 0. West Ham continue to show struggles at home. West Ham is starting to look like a sinking ship this season, with Graham Potter coming under more fire and is currently the bookie's second favourite manager to get the axe this season. Spurs thought they took the early lead in the first half as Cristian Romero's header was disallowed in the first half, but in the second half, Spurs ran absolutely riot. Pape Sarr punished some poor set-piece defending from West Ham 2 minutes into the second half, with Souček's reckless lunge from Palhinha resulting in him getting sent off, and with West Ham a man down, all hope was essentially lost. Lucas Bergvall, one of the promising team players in the league currently, scored his first ever Premier League goal with a header that defied his young years, before Mickey van der Ven added to the score sheet, making it 3-0 on the 64th minute. Mohamed Kudus was constantly booed by the home fans in the London stadium, but once the final whistle blew, Kudus had the last laugh. With Spurs continuing to show great promise and balance under Thomas Frank, the question marks are going to remain around Jed Spence playing as a makeshift left back, but they're worries for another day, as this new look Spurs that has Kudus, Xavi Simons, Palhinha and a lot more are looking very exciting this season. Newcastle 1, Wolves 0, the Woltemade window, with Isak completing a record-breaking deadline day move to Liverpool on the final day of the window. Much focus turned towards big money signing and Nick Woltemade, and it only took Woltemade until the 29th minute to break his deadlock and score his first Newcastle goal with a towering header to the far post. Woltemade looked effective with little touches, completing 8 out of 9 passes, making one key pass, but only having one shot on target and one shot off target, with one being blocked. If there's one thing that he's adding to Newcastle, that could be aerial threat, as he won a whopping 3 out of 4 aerial duels and produced 3 tackles. At the moment, Woltemade is one of the most interesting, unique players in the league. His size, his frame, mixed with his ease of movement and grace, and his ability to revert and drop deep, could provide some interesting options for this Newcastle attack. He will have big shoes to fill in Isak's absence, but best believe he will get supported right to the very end by the Magpie faithfuls. Arsenal 3, Nottingham Forest 0. Arsenal make a statement in the Premier League. If there's one thing that Arsenal possessed this season that they didn't have last season, that's real depth of talent, as Eze, Madueke and bargain buy of the season and Christian Mosquera are giving faith and hope to the Arsenal fans that when the heavy hitters and big boys are out the team, they have more than enough quality to maintain the standards and maintain the levels. But it was new big money midfield signing in Martin Zubimendi who absolutely stole the show for Arsenal, getting his first goal for Arsenal with a magnificent first time volley. The technique, the balance, the placement, the swerve of the ball. It was a magnificent effort which Zubimendi nearly pulled off again, showcasing the confidence that he's feeling in the Arsenal team. Moments later in the second half, he makes it 2 in the game with a towering header at the far post. And to complete the good vibes at the Emirates Stadium, big money striker signing Invicta Gyökeres definitely taps in a beautiful first time low different cross from Eze on the left hand side. Arsenal fans are seeing instant improvements from the big money new signings in Eze, Zubimendi, Mosquera and Noni Madueke, who stole the show alongside Zubimendi and tore Forest down that right hand side, who couldn't live up with any of his directness or dribbling towards the goal, with new signings stepping up and adding to the team, whilst being balanced by having some of the most exciting young talents in the league. Arsenal fans will have exciting big hopes for expectations this season. Bournemouth 2, Brighton 1. Even though Bournemouth have lost many big name players in the summer window, they are still showcasing that they have more than enough talent in their team to cope, and at the moment they are being led by one of the improved players of the league in Antoine Semenyo. Semenyo already has 3 goal contributions in 3 games, and he added to the tally by scoring a penalty to make it 2-1 for Bournemouth. Before that though, Matoma drew things level on the 48th minute, but Alex Scott gave Bournemouth the lead in the 18th minute. Brighton were much improved in the second half, but the Cherries continued to push on, and all their work was lost when Lewis Dunk's poor wayward pass led to Evan Nilsson being caught by Van Hecke's outstretched leg, and the informed Semenyo made no mistakes from the penalty spot. This continues the Cherries' excellent but surprising start to the season, with all the credit going to Iraola. If he keeps this up for Bournemouth, you will see him in a bigger club in the not so distant future. Fulham 1, Leeds 0. Fulham secured their first 3 points of the new Prem season courtesy of a nightmare own goal by Gudmundsson in the 94th minute, deep in extra time. Fulham were the home side on the back foot for the majority of the game. Leeds came with a game plan and applied a lot of pressure. Sean Longstaff hitting the woodwork straight in the first half, but they couldn't find a way past the inspired Burnley. Silverside pushed things on in the second half. Plans were needed, and both came on Emil Smith-Rowe and Kevin, debut boy signed for big money from Shakhtar, who show Fulham fans that if they do anything this season. And boy does Kevin look like a serious player that will get the excitement of Fulham fans off their seats. Both teams kept pushing on as the game was going on, with Wilson's goal-bound free kick being denied from close range, with Darlow producing an excellent save to stop Wilson's goal-bound free kick, whilst also stopping a close-range effort from Muniz 10 minutes later to keep Leeds level. It seemed like a draw would be a fair result for both teams until the 90th plus 4th minute, as new signing Kevin, who forced Darlow into a fingertip save, wrong-footed Gudmundsson, who then put the ball past his own keeper late on in the game. Leeds have fighting themselves, but their attack looks blunt at the moment. Leeds will hope for more from Calvert-Lewin, but also they'll be expecting more goal threat from the rest of their team, with only Nemecha scoring for Fark so far in the league. Everton 0, Aston Villa 0. The Toffees had the better of the opportunities throughout, but when they did find a way through a stubborn Villa defence, David Moyes' team found goalkeeper Martinez in top form. Villa absorbed the pressure but offered little in attack, whilst Dibu Martinez made a superb stop to tip a keen header over in the second half. Unai Emery's side remained the only Prem team yet to score a goal this season, as they've moved on to 2 points into 19th place, while Everton have 7 points from their first 4 games. Grealish was inspired against his former club, producing 5 key passes, 1 big chance made, and completing 2 out of 3 dribbles. He looks a player rejuvenated, now he has more freedom to play, and his growing partnership alongside Dewsbury Hall and Njai could be the key to success for Everton this season. As for Aston Villa, things are starting to look pretty gloomy. They had a very uninspiring summer window and clearly paid the price for PSR constraints. Is this season looking like a write-off for Unai Emery's Aston Villa? Crystal Palace 0, Sunderland 0. Crystal Palace maintained the unbeaten start to the season but were denied all 3 points following a draw from a Robin Rolfs-inspired Sunderland. The spoils were shared at Selhurst Park, though the hosts were left frustrated, having created the better opportunities. Yet the star on the field today came courtesy of Sunderland's goalkeeper in Robin Rolfs, who made 4 saves inside his box and had 2 high claims. And his goal prevention stat was at 1.36 goals. Without Rolfs in goal, Sunderland had no chance. Crystal Palace produced 14 shots compared to Sunderland's 6, yet Sunderland didn't force any saves from Crystal Palace's goalkeeper, whilst Rolfs was forced into 6 saves, producing fantastic saves against Philippe Mateta, Kamada, who had a low drive towards goal, a new signing in Uche from Getafe with a double save after previously keeping out a close-range volley from Mateta again. The game was clouded by suggestions that Glasner, who was forced to deny reports that he threatened to leave Selhurst Park, had Mark Gueye been sold on deadline day. Gueye remains absolutely vital to all things Crystal Palace, and alongside Richards and Lacroix, Palace have one of the best back threes in the Premier League this season. Despite the absence of Sarr and Wharton, Palace still show their Prem experience and qualities, while Sunderland leave here the happier team, having enjoyed a positive return back to the Premier League after 8 years with their absence. And after recruiting heavily and intelligently this summer, are Sunderland set to remain in the Premier League this season? Now, what exactly did we learn in the Premier League this week? In terms of winners, Man City, Liverpool, Tottenham and Newcastle were the clear big ones. Man City showed you don't need possession to dominate. Liverpool produced title-winning maturity. Tottenham pressed with purpose and had that vertical punch, and Newcastle's new striking profile changed the game for them. But big worries go to teams like Man United, who had territory without threat, with cause that Amorim is not getting the best out of their team. Brighton, pretty patterns but no punch, and Chelsea's game state management could be something that affects their chances this season, as they're failing to close out the leads. At the moment, the big trend is possession over control. City and Spurs won by weaponizing moments, not just dominating the ball. This season, the Premier League is producing direct, punchy moments, so expect to see more mid-blocks, surgical transitions, and set pieces edging and deciding the big games. So that's it, you man. That's everything we learned in Premier League Week 4. Make sure you guys stay tuned for this week in the Premier League Week 5 and subscribe to Nini FC for all your Premier League recaps.